Dumelang and welcome to Mommy Diaries. We all know that this show is all about parenting, motherhood, and this amazing journey ya hudisa bana ba rona. On today's show, we have our Bongiwe ki Mama Tlotlego Alpha.
Yeah.
How are you, Mama?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Ke a leboga. Thank you so much for coming to Mommy Diaries. When I saw you, I obviously am on social media and I saw your posts and how open you are about your journey of raising your child who is autistic.
Yes.
Let's talk about that. But before we talk about that, who is Bongiwe? Have you always wanted to be a mom?
Okay, so in a nutshell, Bongiwe was born in Soweto,
Okay.
but grew up in Pretoria, in Atteridgeville. I always wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
Like, being a mom was part of my life journey. I've always said, even if I don't get married, I want to be a mom.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, just me. I'm a mother of two now.
Mm-hmm.
So Tlotlego is my first child, and I have a daughter after
Okay.
that.
How old is your daughter?
The daughter is 2.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And Tlotlego is?
It's 5.
5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now going back to the day you found out that you were pregnant, Tlotlego. Take me through that day.
Tlotlego was a planned baby.
Okay.
Yeah, like Tlotlego was that child who we
Yeah.
planned that we need to have a child.
Mm-hmm.
So he was a planned baby. Everything was awesome. No complications at all up until birth. So in labor, he had a cord around his neck.
Okay.
So he had to even go to an oxygen after being born for like an hour.
Mhm.
But other than that, he was fine. Everything was perfect. It was fine with him. So I didn't have any complications during pregnancy. Everything was fine. My weight was fine. High blood was fine. Everything else was fine. The only issue is just that he had a cord around his neck. So I couldn't continue to push. So I had to go for an emergency C-section.
Got you.
Yes.
Yeah. And then coming back to the topic for today, which is autism. How did you find out that your child has autism? Because I think like we are Black people, number one. Number two, sometimes we don't really do pay attention to certain things that we need to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you find out that Alpha has autism?
Firstly, I didn't know anything about autism up until I had an autistic child myself.
Yeah.
So as you say, we Black people, some things we just ignore.
Yeah.
So what struck the first thing, or the big hoo-ha, was his speech. His speech delayed.
Okay.
Yes. So I took him to his speech therapist so that I can get his speech going. Because even now, as much as he's 5-year-old, he's on 3 words, so he cannot form a sentence. So that was a big thing that actually made me go and have intervention for him. It was the speech. Only to realize that the signs were always there. It's just I couldn't connect to them because I didn't know that there is something called autism.
What were the signs?
So he has always been a picky eater from being a baby. Okay. Which is one of the symptoms of autism. Yeah. So they are picky eaters. They don't just eat anything. Till today, he doesn't eat vegetables or fruits. So when he was a baby, he only ate your cereals, breakfast. Like he would eat breakfast for breakfast, lunch, and supper. Nothing else. No rice, no pap, no gravy, nothing. So, but I thought it was just a child thing.
Yeah, they don't like certain
They
things.
don't like certain things. So I didn't pay too much attention to it. Only to find out that was a big red flag that I had to pay attention to. So then I decided to take him. The first step that I took was taking him to the speech therapist. Okay. So when I was there, I started asking questions because of his behavior. So he would now because I know what it's called steaming, but back then I didn't know what it was called. So he would pace around. He wouldn't be able to sit still. Okay. So he will be that child who just paces around for no good reason. Like he will do the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over. So I would wonder, what's wrong with him? Like, why is this child busy going back and forth, back and forth? Sometimes he's just spinning all around. When I try to spin, I get dizzy. They don't get dizzy. No. They just spin and spin and spin. And I didn't know what is happening up until then I went to the speech therapist. So when I was there, I was able to ask questions that, no, my child does this. My child will pace the whole day, will go and same route, there to there to, doesn't change. What is happening? Then that is when it's like, no, maybe your child might be autistic. Then I was like, what is autism?
Yeah.
And so I was like, what is autism? It's like, no, I'm going to refer you to a neurodevelopment pediatrician. But through that, I also did my own research. Then it got me so confusing. Like, I was so confused more because he had signs of ADHD on the other hand and signs of autism on the other hand, which made me so confused up until I actually got the official diagnosis when he was 3.
Oh, and in between that, you were just observing and dealing with the speech therapist.
Yes, I was dealing with a speech therapist and an occupational therapist. So I didn't wait for the diagnosis. So because I knew that even with or without the diagnosis, these are 2 key things that he needs. So an occupational therapist helps him to navigate life, to be able to be independent, to know how to dress himself, to know how to maybe pick up a pencil. This is blue, this is white, while the speech therapist concentrates on the speech and the vocab. So I took him to both of speech therapist and the occupational therapist, but I also dipped into my research to find out what exactly is this that I'm dealing with. And so he will have like maybe 5 out of 10 symptoms of autism and 5 out of 10 symptoms of ADHD. So which led me to be confused that what exactly is it? Because I didn't understand it at first. I didn't know that there was something called autism. So it was a shocker to me. And I didn't even know, okay, if they say he is autistic, what does it mean?
You know, like
for
when people say that when you're constipated, it means that you can't go to the loo. And so you don't know who
like,
and I think, was there any point where you thought, you know how we are, like,
yes,
where you just thought, especially because he's a boy, we all have this theory in our heads that boys are naughty, and it's true, boys are more naughty than girls. Did you ever think,
yeah, I thought, even with the speech, I was like, no, he will regain speech. It's fine. Child develops at his or her own pace. So I was like, let me not put pressure on the child. But one thing that happened is my child experienced a regress. A regress means that instead of his words adding in, they were getting fewer and fewer and fewer and fewer. So he reached his milestones at a very early age, which is another thing that as parents, we celebrate not knowing that it might be an issue. So he reached his milestones at a very, very early age. He was already talking before he was 1. He could walk before he was 1. He would sing, he would do his ABCs, he would do his numbers when he turned 2. Then from 2, then he started to regress. Instead of words adding on, the words were getting lesser and lesser and lesser up until he was only left with 2 words, mommy and daddy only. All words were gone.
And what were you going through as a mom? Like, what was happening? Like, when I say what was happening, what were you going through emotionally? Because being a parent is not easy. And I can only imagine what you're talking. I can only picture it in my head, what was going on away now, where you know, sometimes you blame yourself, you ask yourself questions. Was there a point where you felt like you're getting depressed or going through something while you were trying to navigate and trying to dig deep on what was going on with your child?
It was difficult. I won't lie. It was very, very difficult. Luckily, I didn't reach the depression stage, but I was nearly there. But because of the support, and I was willing to actually find out what is wrong. Because you can imagine, Pasi, your child talks, then you wake up, your child doesn't know how to talk. So you can imagine what we went through, me and the dad, at that point. From someone who was able to sing, now the only thing that they can say is just mama, daddy, that's it. Nothing more. No other words were added in his vocabulary. So that is when we started that journey of speech therapist. So I think the reason why we didn't get to the depression part is because we intervened so early. When we saw it, we made sure that we wanted to find out what was wrong with him. So that is when we started the journey of the speech therapist journey. But it wasn't easy because I would look at him and wonder what went wrong. Like, how can a person be communicating, be singing, and then stops? We even thought, maybe unedlozi.
Of course.
like maybe unedlozi or something, man. Or is it a traditional thing that we didn't do or that we have to do or what? So then when we started this, the pros, like we went through, we even went through the traditional route because we were just trying to find out what actually is wrong with ICAN.
And as a parent, you will go through all the channels to try to help your child.
Yes.
So I understand.
So we went through it. Yeah.
And then the diagnosis. I when I was reading about it, I understand that they have to go for screening and all of that. And how was that easy for you, or were you on the waiting list? Because it sounds like it's quite expensive to have a child who has autism.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
So when it comes to diagnosis, I didn't wait for so long because we went into the private route. So you wait for so long if it's a public route. You see, so we like raising a child with autism, you must understand that firstly, it's the consistent therapy that the child needs to go through, which is expensive on its own because there are no speech therapists, there are no occupational therapists, there are no ABA therapists. Usually they're in the private and they're expensive. And because of their less, they know that we can charge whatever markup. The parent will just bring the child because we are few. Yeah. You see. So when we went for our diagnosis, we firstly started at the psychiatrist first, which is another expense also. So we went through the psychiatrist.
What does the psychiatrist do?
She also evaluates the child.
Okay.
Yes. They evaluate this child, the mindset of the child, the state of the child's mind, and all of that. And then they referred us then to the neurodevelopment pediatrician. Then I think we waited about 2 months until we got an appointment. Then we went there and then they did the assessment. Then that is when the diagnosis came that he has autism. He's in level 2 autism and ADHD.
Yeah. So what with ADHD, it's the same time. Like it's not like he started having ADHD first, and it's just
it's the same time.
It's autism and ADHD.
Yeah.
Was there a point when you were going through this where you felt like giving up?
Truth be told, no.
Yeah.
No. But what I did is, with all the research that I was doing, you also find people who will say, do this, we cure autism. Do this, we cure. Because I didn't know what autism is. And I didn't know how to navigate it. I wanted to make sure that he's okay. So I would buy things. Like I wasted so much money buying things online, saying if you give your child this, then the child will be cured from autism and all this kind of things. And I also think it was also my in denial at the time because it's difficult to accept what you don't know. So I didn't know what I was dealing with. So I was like, no, I'm not going to pay attention to it. So if it's curable, then let me try to cure it. Then until I accepted that my child actually has this condition and it's not reversible, the child only learns how to deal with it and grow up with it, but it's not curable. No one can cure autism.
Yeah.
No one can cure autism. When I started accepting that this is my child's condition, I think that was when like that whoosah kind of, moment happened. Like I could see light now, because I believe that how you see things, how you perceive them is how you're gonna live them. So now, because of I've fully accepted that this is my child's condition. Now we are not concentrating on the curing, but we are concentrating on giving the child support that they need in order to be able to navigate in life, in order to be able to be independent in life and live this life. See, so I think acceptance
that's powerful, yeah.
It's the one thing that parents need to do. It starts there. When you accept the child, then you'll realize, even if these people come, will cure me, like, no.
Yeah.
not with my child. My child is fine the way he is.
Yeah.
Instead, we do interventions. You do your speech therapist, you do your occupational therapist, you can even add your ABA therapist, then your child will thrive.
Yeah. But I guess every stage is important. The in denial stage that you went through, you had to go through it to get to the point where you had to accept your situation, and so that you can help your child to live with autism. What was Alpha's symptoms, like his symptoms? Because I know it differs from child to child.
So his symptoms were being a picky eater, firstly, and then also his speech. The delayed speech. Yes, so he became nonverbal, and then he was pacing a lot. So he would pace, and he would sound stim. Sound stimming is he would make a sound like he's humming out of the blue. Like he would just be like he's humming or something. So which is another symptom of autism. So those were the symptoms that he had at the time. So also that is where also it was so confusing, because when you're trying to compare with other symptoms, like, no, but my child has eye contact. No, my child can respond to his name. And my child is not tiptoeing. So maybe it's not really autism. So I think that is also the in denial things, like, but he doesn't have all of this. He just only has a few. You see, only to find out that those few is the actual cause of it.
Yeah. And then I saw your video when you were talking about I think you were talking about this. Is it the AB? You spoke about the AB. What's
ABA therapist?
What is ABA therapist?
An ABA therapist concentrates on behavior.
Okay.
Yeah. So what they do, they train their child's behavior. So his pacing and all of that, that is when an ABA comes in. So they teach the child how to be still, how to be able to sit down, how to be able to at least pay attention, when they're teaching to be able to listen and all of that. So an ABA deals with behavior, an occupational therapist deals with independence, and the speech therapist deals with the speech.
Yeah. And then education system in South Africa for children with autism?
You see, that one is a big fail. Like, I don't want to lie, that one is a big fail. Because right now, because we're supposed to be in school now, we're still on a waiting list, because there's few schools that accommodate autistic kids. Because another thing with them is that they don't just go to any special needs school.
Okay.
You see, that is another dilemma. They don't just go to any special needs school. They need a specific special needs school for autistic kids, because they can regress. So if you put them in one combination of a special needs school, then it becomes a disadvantage for them. But now you find that there's only maybe 2 or 3 schools in Pretoria that actually has can accommodate kids who have autism. And how many do we have now?
Sure.
So the waiting list, it becomes longer and longer and longer. Last time I was speaking to some parent, and she told me that his child was in a waiting list for like 4 to 5 years. Sure. Waiting for school. And if you go to the private route, there's no autism school that is less than 7,000 per month.
So the waiting list for your child is a public.
It's a public.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a public school.
Yeah.
So when you're going to the private route, there is no school which is less than 7,000 per month.
And also there are other expenses like the therapists and stuff. So you clearly have to be rich to be able to afford everything.
Everything, yeah.
And then sure, I'm shocked.
Yeah.
So you can actually wait for 4 years.
For 4 years.
Would you consider homeschooling if all fails?
If all fails, I would consider homeschooling, but also because of another huge autism symptom is that they're non-social. So we need to be able to make them social, because at the end of the day, they still need to go out to the world.
Of course.
So we need to train them as young as they are.
Yeah.
You see. So sometimes, yes, homeschooling might be fine if you know that you have social gatherings.
Of course,
at
like
least.
Play dates and all of that.
Yes, your play dates, of which it's very difficult to have a play date with a child who's autistic.
I was about to ask, how is that? Like, when you have to go, we all have to go out with our kids, whether it's church or any other social gathering. How do you struggle with that? How have you tried to make sure that, because you can't keep your child in the house. That's your child. You have to go anywhere with your child? How do you handle that or handle him?
Right now, it's so much better because of therapy.
Okay.
Therapy has helped me a lot. Now I can take him out and not even be afraid or shaken by the stares, because you do get the stares. Like, people will look at you,
of course,
and look at your child like, what's wrong with this child? Because of their sensitivity. And mine is high sensitive. So meaning, because in autistic kids, it's either you get your high sensitive or your low sensitive. So mine is a high sensitive. So which simply means that his senses are hyperactive.
Okay.
You see? So, and he doesn't have a filter. Like, his brain doesn't have a filter. So when he's here, for example, if he were to be here, sitting here right now, he wouldn't be able to sit still, because he would be hearing the frequency of the light, the cameras, and all those kind of things. He hears things that we cannot hear.
Sure.
He will be able to even hear the conversations that are happening outside. So which will actually make him a bit of frustrated, which also causes meltdowns if not redirected. So those are the things that we need to pay attention to as people. Let's not be quick to judge, because I was one of those parents. Autism or ADHD. Like, they cannot help that. It's a need for them to do that. Not for it, they do it because of they want to.
Yeah.
It's a need for them to do it so that they become saint and they become cool, they regulate, because their bodies cannot regulate hormonally our bodies.
So in your family, like your maybe like your in-laws or how did you guys have to tell them and explain to them, what this is what's happening to Alpha and this is the support that I need? So like you're saying, ngwana Bongiwe, not knowing that has to do. It's the kiki autism.
So I think with us, we were lucky because it became an easy thing. I think it just became an easy thing. We were very transparent with our families. No, this is the condition that the child has. And with acceptance also, Pasi, it helps you be able to deal with questions.
Of course.
You see, because you'll understand that people actually come from a place of they don't know. So it gives an opportunity to educate at that time. So with acceptance, at first we will get frustrated because we fully didn't accept our kids, our child or onane autism. So when someone comes and like, can't do us understand, then we trigger for us because we haven't accepted. But now when someone comes like, can't do I want how no man, he has this condition called autism. So he needs to do this so that he becomes sane. This is how he regulates. See, now when you are sitting down and maybe you are humming or you're moving your leg and stuff, that is how you regulate. He regulates like this. Then it becomes oh, okay, no, it's fine. Then it becomes, now when they see him, or now they are very much accommodative. Now they understand that no, with him, he has this different. So he does things differently to other kids.
And for a mother out there who's watching, who has the same situation, has a child who's autistic, like what are some of the tips that you would give them, especially to try to stimulate their minds, especially like you're saying, you're on a waiting list for your child. What are some of the activities that you do at home just to help him to stimulate his mind?
I always say that education, use everything in your house. You don't need to go buy.
Okay.
You don't really need to go buy. That is also why I started the page. So if you can see the activities that I do with Alpha, it's homemade. I take a box, Caesar, we cut, we do numbers, we do dots and stuff. And it's also to help them. The aim is not for them to be perfect, but the aim is to regulate vocabulary or regulate their bodies. Yes, so they mustn't try too hard to make the child perfect or try too hard to make the child. And they also think that because of the child cannot speak, cannot understand, they fully understand. Like they can understand 100%. They even understand way beyond how we think. So it's just up to you as a parent to know your child also, which is very important. You need to know your child, what your child wants, what your child doesn't want, what your child likes, what your child doesn't like. Because sometimes, just yesterday, I received a DM from another mother saying that the child has issues with brushing their teeth. I'm like, no, it's part of the sensitivity. It might be the toothpaste, it might be the toothbrush. So sometimes we work on a version of elimination. Unfortunately, you will need to buy this and see if it works, buy this and see if it works, because they cannot speak, so they cannot tell us what exactly is it. So just make sure that you understand the child. And I will also advise that don't look at their disability. Focus on their ability part. Then you'll be able to understand what your child needs.
Yeah. And then how, because you said you have a second child, how is that? Like being, like as siblings, you know, how are you finding that?
Oh, man, they love each other.
Oh, man.
They love each other. They adore each other. Even though my daughter is more bossy,
of course,
to the brother. The brother's more chilled. But they get along so well. Even though at first it wasn't the case, because another thing of autism is that they routine as how they, so they stick to routine. So if they know that we are two, we need to be two forever. Now there's a third person that came in, so he didn't understand that, so he had to adjust to that. Because I remember when we brought the baby home, he didn't even want the blanket of the child to touch him. That is how much he just didn't want that child. Like he will come in the bedroom and check if she's still there. She's still there, and then close the door. And when I call him, like, Tutli, come. Like, no.
Joy.
Then he will go. Like, I will spend weeks without seeing my son because he doesn't want to see me. You see, but up until he understood that, okay, this child's not going anywhere. And this child looks like is my sister. Because he's busy with my mom and my dad. So I have no choice now to make sure that actually we get along. But now,
that's
they
beautiful.
Get along. So
they don't fight, or sisters
fights are there because of the sisters. Fights are there because of sisters. Sisters is very cheeky,
of course,
very very cheeky. And the brothers just my son is just so calm. Like he's a very calm soul, very chilled soul. But sisters,
most as girls. And then how was it with you and your partner? Like, were there points where it became so difficult that you felt like it's going to get in between you guys, or you are one of the blessed ones where, both of you found a way? Because I feel like sometimes men understand things differently from how we understand them. And I think that's just how God made us. Men are more quiet. Sometimes they don't even communicate how things make them feel. How was that for you guys?
Okay, for me in the beginning, it was a bit, I won't say difficult.
Shaky.
But a bit shaky because it was that thing of in denial. So as much as I was in denial, he was also in denial. But we're still working this journey together. That's one thing. Like, we never left each other behind. We're still working this journey together. But then, that some words will come out like, I am man. And we're like, no, I can't say be sharp. We have to do this and this and this and this. We're like, okay, no, it's fine. When is the appointment? Sometimes he'll even be the one reminding me that, don't forget we have an appointment at 2:00 So it wasn't really a strain. I think it was the in denial part phase where you need to go through before you get the acceptance, because we didn't know what is this. Like, we didn't know how to accept it. We didn't know how to take it. But truth be told, no, I didn't think it was going to come in between us, because through everything, we were together. There's no therapy session that he missed. There's no appointment that he missed. he has always been there with me, working through the journey with our son.
Oh wow, that's beautiful. That's beautiful, and it's sometimes we can say it's rare because
it is.
Sometimes, like I said, it can break a relationship. That's beautiful. So, what made you start this awareness on your page?
I first started posting when he went to his speech therapist.
Okay.
Then I took a video, and then I posted it.
Yeah.
Then the comments that came through, then that made me realize that we need more awareness.
Yeah.
The comments that went through, like, also my child doesn't speak. Where do I go? What do I need to do? And all of a sudden I was like, you know what? There's a huge gap. As much as I also went through this, hitting the ground running, not knowing what to do, I think there's another parent that is going through the same thing. So let me be the bridge. Let them be able to communicate with me, and I be able to make things easy for them, because with me, I had no one to ask.
Yeah.
At least if they can ask me, then I'll be able to refer or be able to advise. I didn't have that. So I wanted to be that bridge to that parent who doesn't have that.
Yeah.
Because with me, as I said, I didn't have it, so I had to do everything by myself. I had to find out everything by myself. I had to try this, try that. As I said, I lost a lot of money trying a whole lot of things, which I think if I had someone who I can ask and be like, no, don't buy those things are useless, I wasn't going to invest in. So I just wanted to be able to be that bridge to that parent.
Yeah. So is it only on social media, or do you sometimes have events or hosts? Sometimes women come together, and do you have those, or it's just for now on social media?
No, I do. I actually do have workshops.
Okay.
I opened an NPO, which is called Not a Disability But Ability, because I want parents to not focus on the disability part of the child, but their ability. So last year I did 2 events. I did parents only, which it's a mom, dad, or single mom, whoever. Then we come, we meet as parents. We be able to vent out,
of course,
because we need that moment of just us alone. Be able to share experiences and share everything. And then I called in a therapist there, so that they also get an opportunity to not pay for consultation, for a lack of better words. Not pay for a consultation, because we pay a lot. So in that, they are able to ask, even though the consultation will be in depth because the child is not there, but they can just come back and say, oh, my child does this. Do you have any tricks that I can use, or the therapist will advise? And I also had another workshop in Tembisa, because that is where my target is, actually townships. So I also had another workshop in Tembisa, where now it was parents plus kids and therapist.
Oh wow.
Yes.
Okay.
So I do.
And how was that?
It was amazing. It was. So I don't want to lie. I was like patting myself on the shoulder, like, girl, you did it. Because I realized that the community actually needs this. Like, it was different age groups, from your grandmother to your 20-year-old mother.
Of course.
Different kids were there. Then I had to also see different spectrums of autism that is actually there in all of that. So it was actually a blessing. Like, I really, really enjoyed it. And I was like, you know what? This I'm also going to do.
And
I'm lastly, continue.
And lastly, what is your advice for someone who they've just realized, or they just found out that their child has autism? What advice would you give them? What tips would you give them, and in order for them to be able to educate themselves like you did, to cope, and to be able to help their children?
My advice would be, it's okay to feel sad at that moment. It's very much okay, and it's very much normal. But don't be in that hole forever. You need to stand up for your child. Because as much as we are worried about how will my child be, that is your child who's actually going through that. I don't know if I'm making sense. It's your child actually who's going through the fact that they see and notice that they're different. because they cannot say it doesn't mean that they don't say it.
Yeah.
So we need to be able to advocate for our kids.
Yeah.
We need to be able to not also concentrate. I think if we change the mindset, then you will see that how we perceive life will be different.
Yeah.
Don't see the disability.
Yeah.
See the ability in the child. I mean, top people who are very wealthy in life have autism. So clearly autism is not the problem. Clearly the condition isn't the problem. So we just need to support our kids. Make sure that they thrive. Make sure that they have equal, or at least if not equal, but equal opportunities to the neurotypical kid.
And for someone in Tembisa who can't afford, what would you say? Because I'm sure there's someone sitting and saying, you guys are speaking from a point of privilege because you could afford the speech therapist, the occupational therapist. For someone like that who cannot afford, what advice would you give them?
What advice I'll give them is that do the publichood.
Yeah.
But also with that, don't just end at waiting for a therapist. Equip yourself as well. Sometimes it's not like I'd have money always to pay for the therapist. But when I go there, because of I check and I interact with the therapist, I can also be a therapist in the house. Because therapists only do 10% of the work. 90% is done by us at home.
Yeah.
So learn.
Yeah.
Teach yourself. Have activities with your child. Make sure that you give your child some time. You sit down on the floor. Observe. Play together.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
Play together. You don't need any. Take shoes. Put all the different left shoes. Give him or her the right. Go and so that they can match those things. Those things count. It actually brain activity so that they're able to match the color. That means they can see. That means they can be able to notice color. You know, they notice left from right and all those kind of things. So sometimes we think you need the money, but you actually don't.
Yeah.
Take spoons in your kitchen.
Yeah.
Put them there, line them up. You guys count. You take out one, you must count how many are left and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
So for someone who is maybe in Tembisa and stuff, do book appointments.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to go. And don't be afraid to ask. When you get there, use that opportunity. Use that hour to ask. Make sure that by the time you get out, you already have maybe two weeks of information that you can do or you can use at home.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, fight for your child. Man.
Fight for your child.
Yeah,
fight for your child.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, who will?
The helper won't, the nanny won't. That's your child. Do you have a nanny?
No.
You don't, okay. Because I can only imagine now having to educate, let's say if you were full-time working mom, you would need someone to help you at home, whether a nanny or whether maybe nkgono wa ngwana. That also means that you have to educate them as you're educating yourself.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So that also, let's not separate the people who help us raise our children, because someone out there would be like, I'm not a housewife, or I'm not a stay-home mom, or I don't have a business that I'm running from home. I have to physically leave and go to work. So I guess what you're doing, which is educating yourself, then it would mean that when you get home, or maybe you go to the therapist with whoever is helping you at home, so that they can do the same work.
Yeah. Training is very much important, especially in nannies and all that. This year I have no choice but to get a nanny. So I will need to actually train the nanny. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bongiwe, for your story, and thank you so much for allowing us to hear you. It's you inspired me as well, just as being a mom and fighting. No, do it.
Do it.
Yeah.
Do it for your child.
Do it for your child. Thank you so much. And thanks for watching.